Welcome to another live stream, Legends. As always, we are going to be taking a look at Bitcoin today on several different time frames. I'm going to be going over the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm going to say things you don't want to hear. I'm going to say things you do want to hear. All fundamentals aside, just looking at the charts for what they are today. I don't care what's going on politically or, geographically or anything like that. We're just going to go straight into the charts here. And basically on the lower time frame here, I was actually talking about this potential short setup to some of my followers there in the Telegram. Basically that I thought that this was a perfect time to actually get some sort of a scalp setup. Just because we ended up breaking this micro uptrend since we found bottom. And I thought it was a good chance for at least some sort of a scalp. So it ended up hitting the first target very quickly, second target also very quickly. And from there, just hoping that it runs a little bit. Basically, my next target would be down here at around 83, 860, 870, somewhere in there. Because that would just be then looking at a potential bullish Stuber fib. So if this would generally be a level that I'd be interested in playing along. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to take a hedge long or not because I'm in a couple of shorts right now. I wouldn't mind taking a hedge long. I just have my concerns about that, and I just think that we can push a little bit lower. And not to say that I'm even overly bearish on that statement. I just think we can push a little bit lower. But basically, just since this is a level of interest at the very least as a buy level, even if I'm not going to take a long there, I'm going to be taking a little bit of profits off of my short there. So the reason why I say even if we're bullish, I think that we could go a little bit lower is very similar to many of you guys would have seen. I think I posted about it in the pro signals even. I was looking at this potential fib setup just as a bit of a scalp on the 4 hour, call it a scalp, whatever. It's actually a very nice move. But basically, I was looking at the fact that since we had this high here and a higher high here, I pulled a fib from the higher low here. On the midterm to the long term, this is not breaking any structure. This is not bullish in my opinion. We need to break above 95K for me to be considering actually being bullish on the trend. But I'm open to the idea of playing longs anyways because I just trade the charts for what they are. I ended up getting an absolutely perfect long along this level, but like a total noob, I fucked up. I updated my stop loss a little bit too early. It was hit basically absolutely perfectly within like $20 or something, and then we blasted to the upside. Yeah, I'm a little bit butthurt about that, but it is what it is. I got myself into a couple nice shorts now. And basically, it's even though we have this nice little break to the upside, because I was pretty clear too that I thought if we ended up breaking this resistance here, I think it makes a lot of sense that we would end up testing up around 90K. And that would just be the actual Stuber fib of the downtrend, like the actual trend that we've formed back starting January 20th. Ever since that, Bitcoin hasn't broke lower high on the 4 hour other than here. And that was then invalidated because we set a new lower low. Other than that, the 4 hour has just done nothing but set lower lows and lower highs. So basically, until that changes, I'm not going to fight that trend because this is where I'm going to say things that I know not everybody wants to hear. But you guys who have been following me for the last little while know that I honestly think that there is some serious red flags that we have started a bear market. I know that's a very unpopular opinion. And most of the people who are saying that, the ones who have actually kind of accepted that fact will be shaken out by any day that has some nice green price action because most people are still ready to FOMO back into the market. I don't think, even though you see a lot more bearish people in the market now, I still don't think that they're going to play it right. I think they're waiting until support and then taking their shorts rather than shorting at resistance. So even if it seems like people are starting to shift, I think they're going to play it wrong and be liquidity and be eaten up anyways. But I have my reasons I'm going to get into in a little bit why I think that it's very at least possible that we started a bear market. But also I'll go over what to invalidate that because that's also important. I'm not married to that idea. It's just something that I'm looking at because nothing's changed yet. But As I mentioned, we ended up breaking this level, and I figured that it makes a lot of sense we end up trading up to 91K, because that would be my Stuber fib if I end up pulling from our current lower high. Because that's the thing, guys. I like taking trade setups when the chart actually has the structure there. I'm not interested in, well, what if the price breaks out? What if the price ends up going all-time highs? Okay, I'll trade the trend when that happens. The downtrend has not broken yet. It's not even close to breaking. Everyone was getting so excited yesterday with this pump that we had. We aren't even close to the lower high, you guys. This isn't a lower high. This isn't a lower high. None of this is considered a lower high on the actual trend, because this was our last low, lower low situation. Our confirmed lower high is the highest point between those two. Nothing of this range has broken yet. Therefore, this range is still valid, and we are bearish as long as we're under 95K. This is not a personal bias, you guys. This is something I want to be clear about. This is market structure. This is not my emotional bias. But that being said, I'm open to the idea of a bounce, right? Like I said, I thought that if we break this resistance here, it's a fairly clean shot up to at least this level. Now, on this 4-hour trend, we haven't been seeing a lot of those full retraces where we do get to those fib pockets. I've been finding that I have to take them on shorter time frames. But I'm open to the idea, because we did break at least this kind of range here. At least we broke a smaller range inside of our, medium-term range here. But much like this setup here, even though I ended up screwing up and getting stopped at break even fairly quickly, even though I played it wrong, the idea there played out perfectly, that we did find that Stuber fib bounce. Even though I'm not bullish, it was an obvious buy level of support. And that's kind of what I would be looking for now again, right? Because we actually ended up breaking that structure now. I shouldn't say structure, because I want to refer more to this as the actual midterm structure. But just the mini ranges here. We broke out of this mini range. So since we had this as a high, now we have a higher high. We can start pulling a fib from here and hope that we find support somewhere in there, right? So I could pull a fib something like this. And I did mention earlier this morning to some people that I was actually quite interested in taking a long position from down here, just like I did back here. And honestly, even if I'm still in my short, I'm in a couple shorts right now that I'll get into as well. But even if I'm still in my shorts, I wouldn't mind at least taking some sort of a hedge from down here, because again, I still see reasons why we could get up here. And this is still a support level on the micro trend of the 4-hour. So being that this is an option, rather than FOMOing into resistance or FOMOing into a breakout like most people like to do, I want that pullback. So most people who were saying that, on social media, you'll see a lot of people who, as soon as we broke this resistance, just, we're going, straight to the moon. We broke out, instantly getting into FOMO long positions. But then we break that, and then we get our pullback. So I would always rather wait for that pullback, because then your loss, your invalidation is significantly tighter, right, guys? So that's kind of my idea there. And I will actually put this back up here. So even though I'm not bullish on this level, I'd at least consider taking a long, just because it's a support level, kind of just a risk reward factor. And in that case, I'll be checking out the shorter time frames when we get there, and most likely laddering in some positions, or just waiting for the 1 minute or the 5 minute or whatever to break lower high structure on the micro trends, and then looking at stabbing at some longs from there. Am I muted? I hope not. Oh man, I should get a bear suit and get on here. When I turn back into a moon boy, I should turn on the webcam and get my green Hawaiian suit on. That would look good on a bullish stream. But yeah, guys, so like I said, not all hope is lost. I do have some good things to say, that at least since we broke this range on the micro trend, I think it's very possible we get a bounce if we continue dropping a little bit. But I do think we can continue dropping a little bit for that reason. I'm more so eyeing up that 82.5K down towards 81.9 would be the Stuber fibs. And the low of that range would be 81.1. And the invalidation Stuber would be just below 80.2, but depends how you play that. Like I like higher leverage trade setups, so I'll be more so trying to catch scalps on a shorter time frame if we get into these levels. and updating and removing my risk very quickly and hoping to catch a runner. Hopefully not doing exactly what I did back here, but reducing risk very quickly, because again, I just see so many reasons. The overall trend is still bearish. Like I said, unless we invalidate 95K. What is the trend master doing here? We got a buy signal. It's already struggling. And this is one thing I talk about with the trend master indicator quite often, is we have a series of lower buy signals and lower sell signals, right? We have a sell up here, sell down here, buy up here, buy down here, buy down here. So they're trending to the downside, even though it's a buy signal. I like to use that as confluence that, yes, obviously we're trending to the downside, right? So that's kind of my thoughts on the 4 hour. The weekly is, see, here's the thing, guys. I know you're all familiar with the saying in the crypto space, when in doubt, zoom out. And everybody says that as a bullish confirmation, and it's a way to cope with losing on the way to the downside. Here's the thing with zooming out when in doubt is notice that, you know, on the 1 minute, hey, I'm looking at potential bullish levels. On the 4 hour, kind of bullish, not even bullish, potential hedge levels, but still overall bearish. Hop over to the weekly. I am still disgusted by this chart. And I have been, guys, here's the thing. I know that I'm told quite often that I'm too bearish. I know a lot of people don't want to hear what I have to say, but just being open to the idea of either scenario opens you up to some good possibilities. I know me and someone were talking, Adrian, hopefully you don't mind me saying this, but you and I were talking about this stream, or in a stream weeks ago. I think it was around Christmas time that we were actually trading down here, and we were talking about the possibility that we get one more push to the upside and then form this divergence on the RSI. This is my favorite reversal pattern to trade, you guys. When I can get a double top or a Stuber fib pullback after a structure break like this, even though, yes, it was just a wick below, we did technically take this low out. And then we ended up bouncing to that Stuber fib. We actually went a little bit higher, but it was never invalidated. This was all very predictable. A lot of people are saying it's manipulation. They don't know, like it's Trump opening his mouth about tariffs, whatever. Guys, it was in the charts. It was all in the charts. And if you want proof, hear me out here. Where was it? Right here, you guys. I posted this on December 23rd. This was late last year, you guys. I pointed out this exact situation on the weekly chart. I was getting ready for this. So although I never quite believed it had to be a thing, I was at least open to the idea while everyone else was saying, how could you possibly be bearish? The fundamentals are insanely bullish right now, blah, blah, blah. I don't care because the charts were showing weakness. We dropped the overextended level. We were no longer overbought, and we ended up getting that perfect divergence. Why would we have smashed through this resistance when we were approaching it with significantly less strength, right? And I know this is familiar to a lot of you, but it's so important. We were testing the same resistance, the all-time high resistance that we couldn't break last time here. We attacked that same level with significantly less strength. Why would we smash through it? And that's exactly why I got very bearish at that time. That I said, if that happened, right? If that we got that, I would be insanely bearish at that time. And that's exactly what happened. So just kind of planning ahead. It's not that I was just blindly shorting into that level. I was just bearish immediately. It was waiting for those confirmations, and they started forming. The reason why I'm still so bearish on this trend, you guys, why I won't change my opinion right now, the only reason, because I have a lot of people asking me and messaging me privately and stuff. I have a lot of people basically just asking, are you changing your tune yet? You know, days like yesterday when we start pumping a little bit, people start getting very cocky that, oh yeah, I bet you're regretting being bearish. No, because I'm willing to wait for those pullbacks and short actual resistance levels, right? And this is one of those things where just planning ahead, that's where you can make those decisions and be like, you know, we talked about this. I didn't really think it was going to happen, but we talked about this and laid it out as a possibility. And then it's all that much more familiar. And it was very easy for me to get rid of my emotional attachment and start looking for shorts in this level. And since our all-time highs, you know, we haven't broke this divergence. So I can't get macro bullish until we get that. On top of that, the Wave Master, we had this massive overextended reversal signal on the Wave Master indicator. We also had the high frequency trading bots pushing the downside. There's just so many things that were starting to line up to the downside. And as soon as we break this level, you know, if we can actually break this downtrend, I will 100% be okay to be bullish again and be open to the idea that we're going to push the upside again, just like what happened back here, right? When we actually broke that divergence line, at that point, I was willing to accept that, hey, you know, the bulls do actually look strong. It looks like we could push to the upside again. But yeah, it is what it is. The thing is, as I was just mentioning, you guys, the further I zoom out, the more bearish I get. So this one right here is basically, to me, as bearish until proven otherwise. Nothing has changed, therefore my opinion hasn't changed. That's all there is to it. It's when I zoom out to the monthly that I have actual bear market concerns. That's the only reason I've mentioned it so far, is that every time we've had one of these order blocks break on a monthly chart, it has been an entire market cycle reverser. So what I mean is basically this level here, right, where we had our last red candle, but then we got another slightly higher push there. We got our little swing fail there. This is where we basically had our last stance before pushing to the upside higher, and we ended up flipping that support into resistance. And guys, even with yesterday's pump, with today's retracement here, this monthly candle has turned back to red again. Notice how well it's respecting that order block support resist flip right here. The thing is, guys, and I'm sure a lot of you guys who are on Twitter and stuff like that, you were probably seeing a lot of influencers talking about how insanely bullish the monthly chart was right at this level. And nobody has been mentioning it since except me. The fact that we ended up losing that level, massive red engulfing candle, the fact that this is only the second time in Bitcoin's history it's even done this. But every time, even the bullish ones that have happened, we've always flipped that resistance block into support and then carried on a bull market, just like we did here and just like we did here. Same on the downside. Obviously, this was the only other time that this has happened, but it obviously got a massive push to the downside. So far, 5 for 5, that has been a reversal pattern on a monthly time frame. That's my big concern, is we could bounce. This box basically goes up to about 98K. That also lines up with my theories about this 4-hour bearish Stuber fib of our current trend. The invalidation is right up around 98K. That lines up with that monthly order block resistance level. So that's my problem right now, why I can't get overly bullish on the trend at this time. And honestly, guys, even the 4-hour chart, like how predictable it was. Just talking about this, actually here, let me bring it up. This was another post. So this was the weekly one I talked about. It was laid out well in advance. These were both in the pro signals, you guys. This was also early January. I even called January 20th as a potential top, at least for a short-term reversal. This has absolutely played out perfectly. I was calling for January 20th. I was calling for a Stuber fib setup. Yes, it went slightly higher than my box, but check this out. And actually, even check out the path that it took. You know, where we went up, came down. I said that, you know, I thought the Stuber fib there is where we'd end up finding support. Went a little bit lower, never matched up perfectly, but honestly, that played out so well. And then on the 20th, yeah, we went a little bit higher here, but let's just really zoom in. Let's lay out the Stuber that I was talking about. And it never actually came that close to getting invalidated. All we got was a swing fail level. You'd hit all your Stuber fib entries on a trade like that. It was the perfect reversal, literally perfect. So unfortunately, until we change that structure, and it's more laid out on this chart here, but until we break this, sorry guys, we are bearish until proven otherwise. That's really all there is to it. I wish I had better news. I'm open to the idea of my theories getting invalidated, right? As soon as our RSI actually gets above I'm totally open to the idea of getting another push to the upside. It just hasn't happened yet. In fact, every time, even at the start of these candles while we were testing this resistance level, it looked like it was breaking and people were jumping the gun, but the candle had not closed. And by the time the candle was halfway through the week, it just started looking like rejections. And yeah, that trend line has held out 3 perfect rejections there. So now at this point, if it actually breaks, I'll be bullish again. But until that happens, nothing has changed. That's all there is to it. I got to catch up on some chat. I got side after seeing all those bear gifs there. I started laughing and looked away for a little while. Yeah, Adrian. Yeah, I knew that you wouldn't. No hard feelings about bringing you into my mess of bear porn here, but you and I, we've talked about this on many streams. We're very much on the same page, right? I know not a lot of people want to hear the bearish side of things, but you have to hear the other side of what we're saying as well, right? Is that if these invalidations happen, we're totally willing to change our tune. The thing is, I don't really feel the same way about Moon Boys right now, is that they are all saying just like, oh, a tweet is going to change everything. Oh, a speech is going to change everything. I don't trade tweets and fundamentals and, president speeches. I don't trade any of that. I just trade charts. I mostly trade fibs. I also trade a couple other things, but it's all very systematic, right? It's not trading based on a gut feeling of, I don't think this bull market should be over, therefore I'm not willing to take a short on anything. I'll just trade it as it comes. The only thing that changes, guys, understand, I still hold most of my crypto. It's just that I'm willing to trade the downside because I can't ignore this. I'm willing to make money on the downside. Why wouldn't I? It's a beautiful hedge to the portfolio that's, in my opinion, about to get its ass handed to it. Like, honestly, guys, I'm in there with you guys that if we do drop out from here, understand that, yeah, it'll hurt me too, but it is what it is, and I'm willing to trade what I see. And if we invalidate everything I talked about, we set a nice big engulfing green candle here, set a new higher high, and therefore confirm a nice higher low support level. At that point, I'll be a moon boy again, and at that point, my spot bags would have recovered very nicely, and we can go from there. But as it stands, that structure has not changed yet. It hasn't been invalidated yet. So that's why I'm still open to setups like this, just taking shorts when I see them. Like I said, I mentioned this as more of a scalp setup, but yeah, you know what? It hit its first couple targets and it continued running. So be it. I took another one earlier this morning. Basically, I was looking at this as a Stuber fib. And then I ended up missing, I didn't see it until we were actually right around swing fail level, but I saw that we had got very close to my invalidation and dropped back below double top territory kind of a thing. And you know what? I took a swing at that because I saw it as a high risk, high reward setup, and boom, we dropped to the downside. So that's a beautiful short as well. In yesterday's public stream I also mentioned this short that I took. It was, honestly, this was meant to be a scalp, and it was the absolute top. And it was, again, that bearish divergence on the RSI with a double top. Like I said, structure is structure. The weekly, the 1 minute, whatever. That's a pattern I love to short. So I was treating this like a scalp. I was updating my stop loss as the structure broke. Sorry, not my full stop loss. I quickly updated my stop loss to break even as we broke structure to the downside. But then I was also chasing the microstructure as we set lower lows and lower highs. I was updating half my stop loss, so using trigger orders for that. So still got a part of that one running. So that played out absolutely beautifully. I mean, so far, yes, on the 1 minute, we're getting back close to support. So maybe we do find support here. But again, I just have my reasons why on the 4 hour. I'm not desperate to catch a long position. I have not had FOMO since before Christmas, ever since, like I said, I was mentioning being just first I was cautious, then I was excessively bearish, and now I'm cautiously bearish. I still think we're going to go much further to the downside, but I'm happy to be wrong about that because I have invalidations and I have trades. I have trade systems in place, right? Just because we go to the upside doesn't mean I'm getting wrecked. That being said, if we come down to this level and the shorter time frame starts lining up, if we can get like a 1 minute Stuber fib setup on top of this 4 hour Stuber fib setup, I'll take a hedge at that. Absolutely. I'll set my bearish bias aside. Hell, I'll still be in some shorts. I'll just be taking a hedge long as well, just in case. You know what? If I'm wrong, then I'll end up eventually locking in the rest of my shorts, and then I can let the long take over from there if that's what's going to happen. Because the thing is, as traders, guys, it's so much more important to prepare and protect yourself and react to what the chart does rather than predicting what it's going to do, right? For example, like I was talking about, this setup, this perfect long that I had down here, you know what? The analysis was great, but I still played it wrong. Hopefully a couple people that I had, some of my followers and some of you guys here in the Discord, hopefully some of you guys caught that and didn't do what I did. That would be fantastic, right? Because it was one of those times that, yeah, I analyzed it right, but I didn't play it right. And so at the end of the day, for me, myself, it doesn't really matter that it happened because I didn't play it right anyways. And that's going to be the thing with a lot of people who are total moon boys. They'll be longing this whole downtrend and they'll get wrecked every step of the way, and then eventually will break new highs, and then they'll say, haha, bears get wrecked, right? A lot of people have a hard time changing their bias and having invalidations and taking profits. I know it was actually me and Zeus the one time. There's a few of us in a voice chat, maybe some of you guys were there with us, but this was a few weeks back, and we both took a scalp on the 1 minute at the same time. We went literally the opposite directions, and we both ended up taking profits on our position, because it doesn't matter which way you're trading or analyzing. All that matters is how you're going to actually execute your trades, right? And that's what I love about fibs, is they're so systematic. It helps keep the emotions out of it. So many bear gifts. Stuber on ETH on the 5 minute. Hopefully I didn't miss that already. This is my BloFin one. Let's duplicate this. Let's bring up ETH. BloFin 5 minute. Depends what Stuber fib you're talking about on the 5 minute. I would agree with something like this. I think there's a potential scalp setup on ETH there. Start laddering in at the 886. I think there's a potential setup there. I don't know if that's the one you were talking about or not, but yeah, I'd be looking at something like... And as always, playing the range for what it is, and then hoping that half my position would run, basically. I always play the range first. So if you're pulling really small fibs and the range is very small, your fib targets are also going to be very close. Your stop loss will also be very close, which is nice. But just understand that I'm always playing the range first, so if you are not taking profits in the range, there's a good chance you're going to lose the trade anyways, even with a good entry. One of the hardest things in trading, honestly, is hitting that take profit button. A lot of people can get into a profitable position, but to actually close it, that's something a lot of people struggle with. But that being said, I always love to leave some run, because there's so many times where I've got myself into a scalp type position, something like this, where it just absolutely takes off, and then you're glad that you held on to some of your position, right? Then you can just kind of take small chunks out as you run. That's personally what I like to do, because a lot of people will often say, I don't know if I should close my trade or leave it run. Well, if I'm ever in that position and I don't know, I usually close half or a quarter of whatever's remaining there. If I don't know, it's okay to take partial. JB, your 3 outcomes of Bitcoin. So you think that we're going to come back up to new highs even? See, here's my problem with that theory, because honestly, a couple of months ago, I agreed that I thought we were going to see one more push to the upside and then get our actual bear market. The thing that's starting to concern me about that is that's starting to become a very popular opinion, and everyone's starting to get comfortable with that opinion, or with that idea, period. And the fact that the monthly broke this and has already retested that support resist flip on a monthly time frame like that, I don't know if we're going to see new highs. Well, obviously eventually, but this cycle, I honestly don't know. That being said, depending how this RSI looks, if we break this downtrend line, I'm at least open to the idea. But something else I wouldn't be all too surprised if we see is, I think you guys know where I'm going to go with this, but we've obviously broke some structure here, and there is a certain trade setup that I trade all the frickin' time on the 1 minute and the 5 minute chart. And like I said, structure is structure no matter what time frame you're looking at. There is strong resistance from 102 up towards 106K. Very strong resistance if we get back up there. I don't know if we're going to get up there or not, but that would be such a perfect bull trap in my opinion. So many people would start getting crazy FOMO at those levels. Twitter would you'd start to see a lot of hopium posts and stuff, a lot of FOMO on social media, and a lot of people who are going to FOMO long right into resistance again. And that's not to say it can't break, right? Depending on what the RSI does and stuff like that, maybe we smash through it. But if we start getting up to that level while the RSI starts getting back up to this trend line, for example, well, there might be a pretty nasty rejection lining up. All theories at this point, right? It's the weekly chart. It's going to take a long time to play out no matter what. It's not like this is going to happen in the next couple of days. It's just something to seriously consider. Same with this monthly chart, you guys. I can't stress this enough. This is the most bearish chart that I've ever seen in my life. So take that how you want. Take it for what it is. What do we got here? Yeah, still haven't quite pushed down to these levels. What are some indicators doing? Trendmaster. So this is where I was talking about, you guys. I love when we see something like a lower sell signal. Love that as confluence that things are reversing to the downside. It's not so much that I take every sell signal or every buy signal, but if they start trending a certain direction, it's a good indication that things might be trending a certain direction. For example, right now with this buy signal, yeah, I think it makes sense that we get some sort of a bounce. But if anything, I have a feeling we're going to see another lower sell signal. So we'll see where we end up getting a fib pull from, but honestly, we could even get something like this again. Right? If we're going to reverse this trend early, it makes sense that, well, where did this trend start, right? This is where we reversed. This is our high, so I'm pulling a fib from that top to this bottom. And, you know, I would expect that if the bears were going to remain in any sort of control, that we would start to find resistance around these levels. The sideways bull run. Yeah, in 2024, I assume you're talking about this price action. Yeah, guys, like this was 8 months of trading sideways, basically. We had very similar price structure right? We had that same bearish divergence, the same Stuber fib. We had the exact same setup back here. So yeah, eventually we broke the RSI there, and then we were ready for another leg up. So that's why I say, guys, if that happens, I'm totally open to the idea of continuing the bull market. But we haven't got this yet. That is my concern. And also, there is more bearish signs this time. For example, this overextended reversal warning here. We never quite had the reversal warning here. We do have that as confluence on this time, and as well the monthly chart. Again, I just have to bring up this monthly chart. The monthly chart has only broke this kind of structure twice in Bitcoin's life, and last time it did turn into a bear market when that happened. And every time we've had it on the opposite end from the bullish side of things, it has been a bull market starter. So take it for what it is. But those are, we never had that on this price action back here. We never actually dropped an order block, because while we were trading here, the order block was way down here, right? So we never even came close to that kind of structure, whereas this time we've broke it. So yeah, I agree. If we start breaking this RSI downtrend and whatnot, I'm open to the idea of bullish scenario. I will at least be a lot more cautious on the bears. I will not be bearish anymore, I guess. At the very least, I'd be neutral. I think I would actually be quite bullish. I guess time will tell how I actually feel. But that's how I'm feeling at this point. But yeah, the structure right now on this compared to over here is significantly different. I mean, I shouldn't say significantly different. The same reversal sign is there. It's just that there's a lot stronger confluence to go with this one this time. And also, I'm not going to get into fundamentals, but there's a lot of fundamentals that people are misunderstanding right now, and how things could go sideways real fast. ALGO master. So the ALGO master, wait, why is that different than my poll? Oh, was it slightly higher and slightly lower? Oh, I see. It only pulled down to here. So yeah, this fib on the ALGO master is actually outdated. So that's where I say, guys, the ALGO master actually nails some Stuber fib calls. It has auto Stuber fibs inside the ALGO master indicator. So I love using that personally. I like using it as a second opinion, looking for confluence, but it's obviously important to know how to pull them yourself so that you can see if it's even a valid pull right now, right? Because although, yeah, it basically lines up right now, technically it's different because we've broke out of the range that it's laid out. So being able to recognize when things have already happened or have changed, that's important, right? So actually curious to see what that will lay out on the 4 hour. So it's actually, oh, that one, see, that one got invalidated because it already broke higher to the upside. I know it used to be showing this bearish one that I have. It's just finding smaller structure now because so much time has passed, so it's refreshed on littler stuff. But as far as zooming out to this level, I still like the fib pull that I have here. Tempting you to make a Stuber meme coin. Oh god, that would be funny. Please do. I promise I'll rug as many people as possible. Sorry, back to Ethereum. Sorry, I keep getting your Ethereum, you were pulling your fib looking to short at 1997. So you're talking about going from this structure up here. I assume you are looking at something like this. I have my concerns about that setup. My reasoning for that is because there has been microstructure that's broken since that, because we had this low, we had this lower low, that was the lower high. So that's kind of where you're pulling from, but we technically had another lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So the fact that the micro downtrend was already broken at this level makes me think, okay, well, where did this micro trend start? Where did this swing start, basically? And in that case, it would be way up here is where it actually reversed from, right? So I do see what you're seeing. It absolutely makes sense that it is a resistance level, but understand it just has a higher risk factor, because since we broke the micro trend, it's very possible that we're going to test the full swing again. I would feel better about shorting this level. But I see what you're seeing here, though. It's not necessarily wrong. It's just higher risk. I also just assume that's what you were seeing. Chaos, good question. Do you find that when that sell or buy signal fires on the low time frame, it tells you to look for the 786, 886 fib play incoming soon? Yes, actually, that is an excellent question. So in this case, let's say this is actually a perfect example. The fact that there is a lower buy signal and we have lower sell signals. Honestly, even just the fact that we have a lower buy signal, I would be looking for a Stuber fib setup from basically where this downtrend started, right? So going from the highs here. So exactly how I pulled that fib. Honestly, that was a bit of a deciding factor for me to pull this fib. So yes, I do consider that when pulling my fibs or looking for new ones. So that being said, I guess let's check this out. Let's see if ETH has that actually. Yeah. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because that kind of validates. Was that you, Rab? That kind of validates your theory there. If that's the setup that you were talking about, that, yeah, lower buy signal, I would be willing to pull a fib from the previous sell signal, because if this downtrend is going to continue, rather, I wouldn't really want to see us invalidate this sell signal over here. I mean, the sell signal was here, but the structure was back a little higher, right? So yeah, I would absolutely consider that valid in that case then. It's just a different way of looking at it, I guess. I still have my concerns that we could end up breaking this downtrend and push into the top of the range, but you have your invalidations, and just understanding at that point, if it gets invalidated, you know why. It's because we're probably going back to the top of the range, right? Yeah, Meow, exactly. The last few weeks, it's been quite volatile, and honestly, even in the shorter time frames, things are getting invalidated fast. Structure is changing very quickly. So yeah, winning is winning. If you have profits, if you're ever, basically, this is the way I look at it. If I ever look at my position and I'm like, if this reversed right now and I didn't make anything, would I be disappointed in myself? And if the answer is yes, then I should take some profits. That's basically a little bit of a rule of thumb I use. If I'd be disappointed in myself, I should change something. Yeah, Woods, that would be that double top we were talking about earlier. Like, if we did come back up to these levels, we could get a very similar double top to the previous market cycle, right? Something to consider is we've already had this exact setup happen on the weekly, but it is much smaller, which is why I think we still could get another push to the upside, make it drag out a little bit longer, get some more hopium and FOMO back into the markets. But yeah, that's basically exactly what happened here, but this was a much smaller scale. slightly higher high. Like this, that's kind of the thing, guys, is a lot of people are expecting, oh, one more push slightly higher, I'm going to dump my bags. Understand, we already had a liquidity grab. We already had a swing fail on the weekly chart. So everyone that's saying, you know, I think we're going to push up higher and get another chance, I think this was the other chance, but so often they're so much easier to see later. They're hard to catch when they're happening, when reversals are happening, because they happen quickly, and it's hard to change your bias like that. But like so far where I changed my bias because of that exact setup, I mean, so far it's not looking great. The 1 minute, that 1 minute setup that I mentioned earlier is exactly this, basically, right? That one that I mentioned yesterday. This 1 minute chart with the RSI, this one's not quite as bad, actually. That's another thing. The weekly one's actually significantly worse, but the same idea, basically. So if this weekly chart turns into the 1 minute chart, well, you know, obviously doesn't have to, you guys. Just theories. What are the inputs in the settings of my ALGO liquidations? What ALGO liquidations? Like the auto Stuber fibs? Oh, the monthly, that I mapped these out. These are all hand drawn. I just mapped out these order blocks. Doing manual labor like a pleb. A Canadian or a maple quant pleb of the 69th generation, right, fellas? Fun fact, look at BTC 4 hour with liquidation band indicator on. I know exactly how that goes. Another way to tell that we are trading to the downside. I did actually look at this just the other day, so I will gladly look at this. Let me just remove a couple things. You know what? I just want to clean up my chart a little bit. So we now know why these purple boxes are here, just because they're obviously Stuber fibs. The liquidations band, there it is. Yeah, we have fought with this for quite some time. So basically this is showing that even if we climb a little bit, there's a lot of liquidations to the upside, just an average of liquidations, high leverage liquidations to the upside. So even if we end up testing that, I mean, very likely that it's just going to get rejected. Basically like a moving average, just in liquidation form, right? The one thing that I have been talking about this for a month or two now is that there is a lot of liquidations to the upside. This is one reason why I think it's possible that we trade higher. But honestly, the bulk of it, there's even quite a bit just a little bit above us, which again, I'm totally open to the idea of testing a little bit higher. I don't know if we're going to grab this stuff above our lower high. I guess maybe, right? Let's pull up the fib and see where our 115 invalidation is. That would grab most of it. And honestly, let's be real. As we pump to the upside and get near resistance, so many people are going to be FOMO longing into resistance, just like they're not supposed to. And rather than buying these support levels, they'll wait till resistance to buy. And then people start longing into that with FOMO, you're going to see a lot of liquidations start piling into the downside. But yeah, like I said, I mean, with those liquidations up there, it's at least possible that we climb to the upside, right? I told you I'd give you the bullish side of things too. But I really don't see us getting much above 95. Maybe, like I said, 98K would kind of be that fake out room to the upside. And yeah, that's a nice move from here. I'll admit that. That's fine. It still might just be a relief rally, though. It doesn't mean that we're bullish. Like I said, there's still nothing bullish on this 4-hour chart as far as an actual midterm trend. Short-term trend, yes. I totally understand that, hey, we could have higher low support here. Just understand that the actual trend is still very much so to the downside. Yes, I was saying that we may have already seen the second peak. Can I oh boy, oh boy, just gonna undo a bunch of stuff here and see if it eventually turns back into my I'm gonna stop there. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. As far as the market cycle goes, like I said, happy to be wrong. It's just that with that monthly chart, honestly, that has never not called a market reversal. Take with that information what you will, but happy to have it invalidated, but it hasn't yet. And my weekly chart has also not been invalidated, and my 4-hour chart has also not been invalidated. So you see my concerns. Yeah, chaos, you get it. That there's so many people with that same mindset of I'm going to dump my bags on a next pump because we're going to get one more pump to the upside. I think too many people are comfortable with that idea, and I think structure on the higher time frames has broken too significant of levels to actually do it. Again, very happy to be wrong, but that's just how I'm seeing it. That's just what the charts are showing right now. That can change. Yeah, yeah. I agree with chaos 100% there. um yeah, let's talk about this as well, guys, because I want to right now, way ahead of time, I want to talk about some potential support levels, because when these levels get, if we end up trading lower and the levels I am going to talk about end up getting respected, and we just get a bounce off a very obvious bounce zone, you're going to start seeing it immediately. Oh, the bottom is in, the bottom's in, we're going back to 100K within a month, blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, any bounce that we see off an important level is going to be that, just a bounce. So let's talk about a few potential bounce levels and see if I'm correct about this. One, obviously that level I just had mapped out. A lot of people are looking at this level, basically from, let's call it 70 down towards 65K. There's this obvious, well, order block on the weekly, right? Although we already lost one. But we do have this as a support level. My thing is, if we go that low, I don't see why we wouldn't test the Stuber fib. So I think that personally that we can go lower, just because if this was a 5-minute chart or a 1-minute chart, let's pretend these numbers on the side don't matter, and let's just pretend this is a 5-minute or a 1-minute chart, because structure is structure once again. I would not be looking to long this level. I would be looking to long this level. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending, that's ranging from around 63K down towards 56K. So yeah, it's a pretty big range, but it's a weekly time frame, right? But mark my words, it would be so obvious that we get a reaction rally off that level. But structure is still broken to the downside, and in my opinion, it would just be some sort of a bounce. And I think it would be a good one. Don't get me wrong. But I think a lot of people are going to be instantly celebrating that the bottom is in. And I think the bottom will only be in for a few weeks. And then I have a feeling we would end up absolutely dumping to the downside. I would not at all be surprised to see us do something like this. It would take a long time to play out, right? It's a weekly chart. But, or even like you said, maybe we do get another pump to the upside, something like that. But I strongly believe that it's going to be something like this. And it would take months to play out, right? It could be a full bear market. It could be a year or two. Who knows? But those are kind of the important levels on the weekly that I'm seeing right now. The thing is, if I'm right about this and we are actually in a bear market, or we get a bear market sized move, I don't think that would be the bottom. I think it would be short lived. And I think we would end up seeing somewhere a little bit lower. And my reasoning for that would be that I would be pulling a fib for the full market cycle. And that would be from 35 down to 26K. Again, happy to be wrong about this. And if we end up climbing higher, this would change. If the price goes higher, this is only pulled as a, hey, if we are in a bear market, but I honestly don't know, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, hey, I promise we're in one, because I'm happy to be invalidated. That's what being a trader is all about. What else lines up there? Our liquidations band lines up in that fib pocket. How about that? This will look familiar to a lot of people, but if you are going to try and tell me that this can't happen, I am just going to break your spirits a little bit. Boom, that bull market. Where did we pull back? This looks a little bit funny. It's stretched because this is the logarithmic chart, so I can fit it all on a page. But yeah, notice where we ended up finding bottom after that bear market. Same with the next one, where we find bottom there. Same with the next one. Where did we find bottom here? So yeah, is this cycle going to be different? Maybe. I see no reason why it would be, to be honest. The best shitcoin meme coin strategy is no trading is so often a win. Yeah, no trading memers, I'd say that's a win usually. And yeah, exactly. Waiting is so hard. It's underrated on just how disciplined one has to be to not click away. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, these bearish theories that I've had, so many people, while we were trading, I think it was right about here, people started saying to me, actually, no, where was it? I think it was right after this candle closed pretty much. People started asking, well, if it's so bearish, like you say, why haven't we dropped yet? It hadn't dropped yet because it only confirmed 2 candles. Like, people can't wait, right? They think that a weekly chart should play out in 5 minutes, whereas they think a 5-minute position should run for days or weeks, right? Like, people have that whole time lapse thing so backwards. Yeah, Sam gets it. Got to stick to a plan. Yeah, learning a plan, and that's where the replay feature comes in. I know I always talk about this on my streams, but the replay feature to backtest on TradingView, so undervalued. And I know everyone hates doing their homework, but wouldn't you rather at least have some sort of understanding what your odds are on a trade setup before you actually throw money on it? coming up. Yeah, sure could be. I like it. BTC as well. I'd personally only want to take one of the trades, but I'm should I add to one of mine? I could probably add to my latest one. Yeah, that's a good point, Sam. There are new legends here. Go ahead and show them the backtest feature if you were feeling it. Yeah, so this is basically how I like to use it. Let's just... Ooh, that's getting close. Or do we plan for something here? Give me a minute. I have a decision to make. Actually, I only want to take this if I see one overlap on the 1 minute, a new one. Like we end up doing something like, or we get a microstructure break and then retest it. I'd consider. I'm going to wait until that kind of confirmation just because I've already got a few shorts on the go. But yeah, the replay feature. Let's do that. So basically with the replay feature, you can come up with a set of rules and just write out said set of rules if there's a certain strategy that you want to start backtesting, and just honestly go back to anywhere in the chart. It doesn't have to be the 1 minute like this. It can be the 4 hour or whatever. I've usually backtested longer time frames. But yeah, you just basically pick a random spot on the chart, and then that way you can basically watch it play out live. And if you see your ideal setup coming into play, then you can start backtesting it, right? So you can just hit the play button and you can watch the chart play out. So you don't necessarily need to backtest as in waiting weeks for something to play out to see if it actually plays out. You can do it with the replay feature. So see, as this happens, since we lost the lows of this range, I'm pulling a fib from where we reversed from. I don't know where the price is going to stop, but I'm just basically looking for it to get to the 786. I should speed this up a little bit. There we go. That's gooder. So basically, if we end up bouncing from here, I would want to see us getting up to the 786. So basically the way I would want to be trading this is I personally like laddering in, right? I know I always talk about the 786, 886. That's often in a strong trend where we reverse, but I usually have orders up higher, and usually my heavier orders are higher in case we get a swing fail, because that helps tighten up my stop loss a bunch. But this is kind of what I would be looking for, basically laddering into a position, something like this, with stop loss with a little wiggle room above my 115, basically. Actually, let's just do this to see. And let's just make this a little bigger. Let's make this a lot bigger. Actually, no, let's leave it like that. Let's keep playing. See if we get up there. So we got the 786 order. Oh, technically that one would have got stopped out then. Because I would be looking at, actually it depends where I had my stop loss. I think I would have. And then unfortunately it would have hit the 2 take profits there. So yeah, in that case, you know what? That trade would have lost. But that's basically how we backtest, right? I was looking for a certain trade setup. We see if it plays out. So when I backtest, I generally go back. When I've done backtesting, I've usually done the daily and the 4-hour chart. And I have done like 2 or 3 years of backtesting, of going back years and finding dozens and dozens of examples and going and just kind of finding out your probabilities for something to play out, right? So that at least when you start entering those positions, you at least have some sort of understanding as to what's going to happen, right? So that's basically how backtesting works. Because at that point, you don't really, you go back to a random spot, you don't actually know unless you happen to look at the dates and you remember what exactly was happening that day or whatever. But that's kind of the whole idea of that replay feature, going back to a random spot so you don't know exactly what the chart is doing and just kind of, playing around with your own strategy and finding out how often it's going to play out, basically. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. We are testing the Bitcoin fib. I want the position on ETH instead because I'm already in some Bitcoin shorts. Yeah, Mihao, I always leave some wiggle room above the 115 because so often it's tested perfectly. Honestly, after that, the wiggle room is just kind of how I'm feeling. I don't have an exact number, but I'm always, I never use round numbers for one. I always don't round up. I move my number higher than the nice round numbers that are around. Also, if there's some other structure that happens to be around, stuff like that, it's a case-by-case play. The 115 is just basically the main reason I have it here is a reminder to just to have some wiggle room, right? It's not so much that I'm using this level exactly, but I don't want to have a stop loss. Let's say I was going to take a short on ETH, for example. I wouldn't want my stop loss just above the highs. I know a lot of people love doing that, oh, if we break this, we're going to the moon. Well, no, it's probably just a swing fail, or there's a good chance it's a swing fail anyways. In which case that wiggle room will help avoid those random wick outs. Not always, right? Just like the example I just gave, sometimes it happens. That's trading. There's no trade setup that's going to hit 100% of the time. But what's good about having a back-tested strategy like that and waiting for pullbacks and understanding structure is that you can at least control your losses, right? Because losses will come, I promise you. But it's about controlling them. Yeah, the infamous Stu 69X trade. Honestly, sometimes, like, I know when I was doing a stream last night, where were we? I know some of you guys would have been in my stream. I think, it was right here. Yeah. I believe I had this fib pull. This was on a public stream yesterday, but when we were in that stream, we were trading right between the 1 and the 115 fib. And like I said, it was basically a perfect tight invalidation setup because even though it looked strong and it looked like we were going to break out, just the risk reward was so good because the stop loss would have been so tight that it was like, what was it, a 5.5 to 1? Oops. No. Oh, I think when I mentioned it, we were actually up here, but my entry from a new trade earlier today is here. But yeah, I think it was something like here because we were talking about a 5.5 to 1 risk reward because we were so close to my invalidation. And so sometimes a trade like that, it's like, well, yeah, it's close to my invalidation, but that's the perfect setup for a nice tight stop. So yeah, sometimes those are nice ones as well. But yeah, that wasn't why I took that trade. this blue dotted line is because of this one. Same idea though, right? The fact that we got so close to my invalidation, but then it was looking weak. I mean, that was just my chance to pull the trigger. I was pretty mad I missed a long here for some reason. It was like bang on, but it never went for some reason. So ETH never quite made it there. Bitcoin did, but ETH didn't. Yeah, placing the stop loss just above the 1 versus the 115. One way I would consider that is if I was using the AI charting tools for that. And see, although even in a case like this, that would have got a guy wicked out. If you pulled a bearish fib from the lower high, if you kept your stop loss above the 115, you would have caught this nice little push to the downside. But if you had it just above the 1, you would have got dinged. I still want the 4 hour to push a little lower. I would still really like to get some sort of a hedge long down here. So as bearish as I sound, guys, I'm still looking at structure for what it is. Even as I'm a perma bear lately, I'm still totally willing to get myself into long positions at those long levels. I'm not willing to long breakouts like this. And I'm glad I'm not, because a lot of people are. Yeah, Ethereum never even made it there. That might be a sign of weakness, right? Can't even get that retraced to the 786. It probably hit the 618, honestly. I don't look at that one as much just because I'm a little pickier, but that's probably exactly where it stopped. Oh man, that's awesome to hear. I think you had mentioned that to me one time months ago, actually. So thank you so much for joining the community because of me. I take that as a huge compliment. Yeah, always good to have you here. Have yourself a good rest of your evening. Thanks for joining. I'm probably wrapping up soon here too. Oh my god. I should have added to my position. Oh darn. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious to watch this for a few more minutes, but I've gone over most of what I wanted to go over. Guys, those of you who do want to learn a little bit more about my Stuber fibs, I do have on my Twitter page, I did pin this. This is through the financial summit page that she was just talking about. I do have my own video over there, but I have it pinned to my page here. That gives a very basic breakdown of it. There is more in depth. There's a little more to it than that, but yeah, that's a good start at least to kind of understand what the hell I'm talking about in all these streams. The infamous Stuber fibs. And for those of you who are new here, I do have my own YouTube page as well. For the most part, it's these streams, which are also available in the Academy. Like there's streaming on the dashboard now. But yeah, so it's also there, but it does go onto my YouTube page as well as if I do shorter videos and stuff like that. For the most part, I've been streaming either here or on Financial Summit. So do yourselves a favor, subscribe there as well. But yeah, look at that. We're getting close to the 0.5 fib. The detailed one is not here in MDX. Sorry, it's specifically through my Telegram. That's with the Financial Summit there, so that's a separate thing. But that being said, you guys get a lot of streams with me where I basically give you guys exactly how I do it. In these streams, I show how I do the structure and stuff. It's very similar to what I show in these streams. Thanks for joining again, Sam, as always. Might have to go outside for some PEDs here soon. Oh yeah, 75 on ETH. I've never used that fib myself. I've always done the 786, but yeah, nailed it to the right to the wick there. Chaos, thanks for the good questions there. And of course, I always appreciate your input because we seem to be on the same page lately. Hey, look at that. Bitcoin hit the 0.5 fib. Target 1 hit. Maz, thanks for joining again, brother. Thank you all for being here with me. But yeah, I think you guys know where I stand now. I guess we've been here for almost an hour and a half. Holy cow. Time flies when you're having fun. But yeah, this is basically the structure on the micro time frame that I'm looking at. If you did end up taking this short, like let's say you took the 786 and you had more laddered entries, at this point, since we've hit the first target, that's my reason to basically cancel the rest of my laddered orders, because the fib setup may have played out already. After we get that test and hit the first target, at that point, yes, it's technically played out already. So even if we tested up at these levels again, it would still technically be resistance, but it would be a lot more risky to play the short this time. That's why I think it's so important to get good at noticing these and seeing them ahead of time so that you can catch them the first time, because so often that initial test, you get some sort of a reaction, at least to those first couple fibs. So, but yeah, anyways, legends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you guys found this stream useful. For those of you watching this on my YouTube channel a little later, if you are interested in joining the MDX ALGO community, gain access to my favorite indicators on TradingView, as well as being part of these live streams with me every week, and a handful of other coaches who are also doing streams every single day. There's a link down below which gives a 10% discount at checkout. As mentioned, I've also recently started a private Telegram channel where I share some of my trade ideas, scalp setups, Stuber fib levels. Just kind of a place where I can send all my analysis to in one place, just my general thoughts on the market, place to keep all my thoughts together. It's completely free for people who trade on BloFin using my new sign up link. You can find details about that down below as well. And yeah, with that, thanks again everybody for joining me. I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.